from billboards to flyers to whatnot. The grassroots is but a strategy. It's a marketing strategy, especially if a name does not exist. If the name is a no-namer, it's difficult. But sometimes that can be to an advantage because names can be ruined, as we were talking about before the show. There are names that you don't want to touch, and yet when you do, there may be some type of loyalty that will follow still. But you have to now tweak it in what we call PR. Because PR is not the truth. It's got nothing to do with the truth. It's called public perception. And that's managed by media and media alone. We tell the people what we think they should think. And the people sit in front of the boob tube, sit behind the newspaper, and are faceless listening to the radio and believe what we say. That takes money. That takes effort. That takes strategy. That's the difference, di ba?
Right. And to add to that, Sara, in political communication, there's such a thing as a political brand and a political image.
Those are two different things.
Two different things. Ang nangyayari, they would always put brand and image together when, in fact, brand, you build it over time. Image is fleeting. In one election cycle, my image could be targeted to the youth. So I dress, I act, I wear colors that the youth would probably love. But the brand is, in the likes of, when you say Nene Pimentel, the brand includes local government, the brand includes freedom fighter, the brand includes what he did under the dictatorship. When you say what is his image may not necessarily be desirable to the youth, because when you look at Nene Pimentel, he's old, but that image could probably give wisdom to the voters, could probably give stability. So when you do trademark, when you say political trademark, you're actually built a brand already. But when you're just starting, it's all images. And the images would contribute to that brand. And when what Harry was saying, there's brand loyalty. For example, from a Marcos to a Marcos, from a...
Proof of that is he's in the Senate.
Yes.
No less than the wife and the mother is in Congress.
Right.
Now talk about dictatorship and plunder. They're back in government. Diba?
Oh, yeah.
It's called branding.
Oh. And then there's the Revilla to Revilla.
Oh, Revilla to Revilla. It's ongoing.
They're not even talking of accomplishments and everything.
And that's the brand. The name is
essentially the Revilla, which you build through movies, the image. Estrada to Jinggoy.
Yes.
Estrada to JV. To a certain degree, JV may not be an actor, but because he carries the Estrada brand, lumalaban yan sa naaapi. So it gets carried to the persona of the politician. Kaya lugi yung politiko na hindi artista, hindi anak ng datihan.
Walang brand. Walang brand.
Yun, talagang tabula rasa that you have to, which is very good for us, because then we can, come up with the brand that we need at that particular time.
The image that he needs, or she or she
Hindi ka limitado.
Hindi limitado, may elbow room ka.
Hindi ka nakakahon.
So when you do...
Hindi ka makagalaw talaga.
So when you do surveys and FGD at tinanong mo dun sa mga respondents, what are the characteristics you are looking for a leader, immediately, plak ka lang dyan. Then you create the image that you want. And then you ask, again, yung sinabi ni Harry, through PR, you ask that client to behave this way, do these things, make sure that you are, very open to the public, very amenable to suggestions. Why? Because it's part of the study that was done, that Filipinos are looking for the following attributes of a leader. Yun yung hindi nakikita ng karamihang incumbents or people who are entering into the political world. There's a science actually. It used to be, tatakbo ako, kunin ko kung sino yung mga traditional leaders ng aking tatay or traditional leaders in the community, then I'm a competitive candidate. But these days, you really study image branding and the resiliency, the echoing of the brand.
And definitely, there's a science to it. As you said, may factual basis ang Publicus for every strategy that you propose to a politician.
And sometimes there are strategies that you don't need. Like, I mean, there are several studies already on what tools could give you a high conversion rate in terms of survey. So definitely when you say to a client, oh sir, hindi na ho importante posters, sandali lang, pag umiikot ako, bakit sila ang daming poster? Ilan ba ang bumoboto based sa posters? Wala. Ilan ba ang bumoboto based sa repetition of an ad? It's not, you're just not looking at the repetition or the frequency, but the message of the ad. So these days, communication is very important in the political campaign industry. Why? Because you have to be consistent with your message. You cannot depart from your message. And sometimes your clients would say, ay, ano ba yan? Boring na yan. Can I shift? But hindi pa yun na-absorb ng target audience mo. And in political communication, unlike PR, sa corporate PR kasi, those who will buy becomes my target audience. Those who are not interested
Are not.
are not.
Excluded.
Diba? In politics, no. Those not interested to you, that's your number one target. Kasi you don't spend money on those who will support you, who are supporting you already. So you look for those who are neutral and those who are for
or against you. And translate that
into
votes.
Yes. So may to a certain degree you use some corporate marketing strategies, but it is very unique in the sense that you are dealing with voters, not buyers. And voters can be so fickle-minded, especially in the last minute when you introduce, let's say in the last election, Villar was asked to comment. He decided not to confront the issues. But later on, he introduced the family as part of the solution in confronting the issues. By the time, it was too late.
It was too late.
Unlike Noy, when they were presented with the supposed medical record, they confronted immediately. Sino ba yung pumirma? Got the person to say, no, that's not me. Got
they
people.
addressed it
Immediately. Then it doesn't shape or define the campaign. It's very hard because unlike a PR/corporate campaign, you have the time frame is not limited. And in politics, you're campaigning for 45 and 90 days. So if you start late, day one is already eaten by those who went ahead in terms of preparation.
Dapat awareness generation mo, nauna na Tapos na. You're
so
already,
hindi na problemang awareness.
Strategic positioning na lang for current events.
But very few politicians probably, and even spend money for it.
Yun na nga.
On campaign. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back with Ms. Malou Tiquia and Mr. Harry Tambuatco on political trademarks.
Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we read, everything we wear. Behind all our favorite things, there is an author, an artist, an inventor. Genuine, real, original. Pushing the limits of imagination and innovation for our comfort, our enjoyment, making life interesting. Enjoy their efforts, respect them. They help shape our world. Everything we listen to, everything we watch, everything we read, everything we wear. Behind all our favorite things, there is an author, an artist, an inventor. Genuine, real, original. Pushing the limits of imagination and innovation for our comfort, our enjoyment, making life interesting. Enjoy their efforts, respect them. They help shape our world.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Intellectual Property, and we're still talking about political trademarks with Ms. Malou Tiquia of Publicus and Mr. Harry Tambuatco of Superbrands. Okay, Ms. Malou, you said earlier that those who have no name also have chances of winning in an election. What about those who have lost in previous elections? How do you think they should go about building their trademarks again or their names again in order to win a second election?
Siguro, Sara, what's sad in the present state of the political industry in our country is that once a client loses, they don't analyze. they don't go back to the drawing boards. What did we do wrong?
Sama ng loob ang
Diba?
nangyayari.
Parang wag na natin i-analyze. But in analyzing, you'll be able to identify saan yung problema. Was it huling operation? Was it the organization did not convert? Were there people who pocketed the money?
Yes.
That's very important.
Deliverables.
Yes.
Why did they not come in?
So it has to be run like a corporation too. The problem with as you go lower to the local campaigns, it becomes more a family enterprise than really defining, oh, these are deliverables, sino ang bahala dyan, how much is the amount needed in order to reach that expectations or end goal. Hindi yun nagagawa. So napakahirap. It's kind of hard for people who do not analyze what led them to the defeat to even consider, you know, I want to do another try. But people who do analyze will have a very easier time campaigning. Why? Because at least you measured yung tinatawag sa yung measured capacity ng isang kandidato. And then you know who can deliver among your organization. You know who is there for money's sake only. You know who were those local candidates who help you, especially if you're a national candidate, who really converted, who made true with their promises. But without that analysis, it's very hard to pinpoint and to actually chart another attempt to run for public office.
To run for public office, yes, definitely. Mr. Harry, what do you think, should those who want to, again, run for a second time, should they file for trademarks? Should they trademark their names?
We were talking about that, Malou, outside. In America, apparently, it's a practice that the political brand names, call them oligarchs, call them feudal lords, call them whatever. Once they have a specific brand, they nurture that brand, they are careful. It is no longer the individual. Sometimes it's no longer even the family. It's called that name, that brand, and you have to treat it like such. You have to be professional towards it. So much so you should register it. In the last elections, we had people who maximized using names of other people. I'll give you a case in point. June Losada was on top of the news because of the NBN ZTE. He happened to have the same name, and somebody else ran in the Senate named June Losado. His name was actually Apolinario, but he was called June by his peers. He used that name because June was being considered politically center stage. So it was used. He did not win. I met the guy Apolinario Losada. He was with the KBL, I think. He doesn't really mean to, but does he? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. But then
may
again,
recall na kasi yung name na June Losada, and that's what he used.
There are many names in the campaigns when they begin. They utilize the goodwill of others, the branding. Ang hindi naintindihan ng market or even the politicians, there's no clear appreciation of the meaning intellectual property, branding. Abroad, the politicians safeguard and protect themselves so that they can withhold and use that strategy. Hey, pangalan ko yan, di mo pwede gamitin yan, registrado yan. Then you go to court, may labang ka. Pero if you're not registered, hindi pwede. You're the one who's saying that in your earlier radio show, attorney. You're talking, what would you call that? Copyright, di ba? Ako, I likened it to when you get your birth certificate. We all get a brand when our parents give a specific name. The brand that we use is always the family name. But you don't forget where you come from, which is, in the Philippines, we use it in the middle name. It's only Noy Noy who doesn't use his middle name. I don't know where Simeon came from. Is Simeon a family? Diba? I mean, it's written on the peso notes, diba? Pero alam ko, Cojanco middle name niya because his mother was Cojanco.
He was named after the grandfather.
So grandfather niya is Simeon.
Yeah.
So the last name is Simeon?
No, Simeon.
I know, it's a second name.
It's still a first name.
In Australia,
I think it's the maiden name.
It's the maiden name.
Of the grandfather.
Cojanco. That's why he's the third.
No, he's Aquino, isn't he?
He's Aquino.
He's
so
Aquino.
He's now Benigno Simeon Aquino the third.
So he's no Cojanco at all?
He doesn't, he dropped it.
Pwede pala yun. Because I never,
I
didn't even know that story. I'm glad somebody explained it to me because I can't. But alam ko, the second name, the maiden name of your mother is what you call, you too likewise belong to that brand. Now, what happens if the matriarch or patriarch of the family, let's say, is called whatever name, Locsin, kunwari. It's a big name in Mindoro, di ba? And then the sister has a nephew, a son, and he's gonna take over